13-year-old son, and checking starting in hockey was pretty nerve-wracking. And of course, in the first weekend, we were playing against some Canadian teams that seemed like they had been checking for a while. I don't know if they practiced it earlier up there or what, but some big kids. And I just had one of those moments where my son took a hit. And it was one of those ones where the game's got to stop and they got to make sure he's okay. And it's just, your heart is just pounding because you just want him to start moving all those little fingers and toes and moving around. And ultimately, it was okay. It was a tough kid, and he got back out there, was able to play again in that same game. But just a reminder for me how grateful I am to just have kids that we have great relationships. I get to watch them do their sports, and never to complain about having to maybe drive 5 hours in every direction for a hockey tournament, because it's definitely about the journey. And I'm super grateful that he is still with us. And this week he will be participating in a checking clinic where they're going to be learning a little bit more about how to do this, which he probably could have used last week before we went up to Canada for this tournament. So that was my weekend. And we've got a lot of stuff coming out in the real estate world. NAR had their kind of mid-year get together, and a few different things coming out of there. But I'm going to start with something this morning from Massachusetts. I guess I don't really need to share it up on the screen, but some changes around the home inspection statute. So MAR has secured several improvements in the regulation. I would think we'd call them. Chief among them, they've moved that implementation date from July 15 to October 15, at least for now. That'll provide some time for MAR / the industry to kind of update some forms, educate us, clients, etc. So there's that. They put in this little memo, regulations will also allow for more flexibility for the parties to negotiate terms relative to the timing of inspections and contingencies based on the estimated amount of repairs. Another key component of the new law is the requirement that sellers provide a signed disclosure to buyers that highlights the potential buyer's right to inspect the property. So similar, it looks like, to a lead paint disclosure, the seller is going to have to provide a signed disclosure that they sign saying, hey, Mr. Buyer, you have the right to inspect the property. And then the buyer will then sign that document. And both parties are going to have to sign that prior to entering into a contract. So I guess this is their way of kind of enforcing how this is going to work. Those are kind of the key things. Anybody have any questions on that stuff or read anything else otherwise regarding this home inspection stuff in Massachusetts? Lauren, I know you're always on top of this. Have you seen anything else that we should be aware of? I don't know if you're on. I saw you on earlier. All right, so that's where we're at with home inspections. Let's see here. What else did I have? So NAR has overturned their no commingling policy. So this is an interesting one. This is pretty overwhelming. 33-7, it says, was the vote. It says they will vote in their November meeting for final ratification of this, but clearly it looks like this is going to go through. And so this is going to allow sites to display non-MLS and MLS properties side by side on a website. I think that is the key kind of difference here. So the easiest way to think about it in my mind is, when you go on to, let's say, Zillow, you've got kind of like a different button that you got to check off for like a for sale by owner or I don't know, some other type of a non-MLS property, those will now be able to be shown. The reason that they have that separated out right now is because of this commingling policy. And now those are going to be able to be displayed side by side. So similarly, with the different stuff that you're seeing out of the Compass camp, these properties that are not in the MLS could be on their site along with an MLS property. So anybody read up on this stuff or have any questions on the no commingling rule? This one could potentially have a little bit more impact. The mic is on. Hello? What are we thinking? This is a back and forth. I would love to have some back and forth this morning. Do we not care?
I'm driving, so I keep my audio off. But when you said no commingling, I thought brokers are going to be able to keep deposits in with their personal bank accounts.
Yeah, no. This is a different law. When I first read it, I kind of thought something along the same thing. I wasn't even aware of this law, to be honest with you. I didn't. I just figured that's how they just did it. They just separated stuff out, but apparently you have to separate out. And now they're going to be side by side. So I don't know. Interesting. I don't know how quickly different third parties will react to something like this. But I remember we had the ability with our website to be able to go and add for sale by owners to our site. But I do remember now after reading this that we would have had to have it in a separate area. So they couldn't just show up like a regular listing would. No other thoughts or comments?
I'm on the don't care. Sorry.
Don't. That's fine. Just tell me what you guys are thinking. Don't care. Sorry is fine.
I do have something I want to talk about, though.
All right. Because my last one's.
Go.
I don't know. No. I'd rather go you because the last one's interesting. I don't know where people will fall. And maybe I don't care again. So let's go with what you got.
You to tell me all that stuff, Steve. You're telling me, Chris, do this, don't do this, do this, and then I don't have to read up on it. That's why I love you guys.
Yeah. No, the no commingling thing, we don't have to do anything. It's just I was just curious if you thought, what did we care if the for sale by owner is just kind of listed there right along the MLS listing, or these, Compass listings if they're, putting them non-MLS? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want them there, of course. You know what I mean? So it does, but there's so much in this world I can't control. Yeah, there you go.
That's it.
What I do want to talk about, though, is a big conversation I had with two other top agents last night regarding agents coming to open houses with their clients and not acting like professionals. Like, it's important, and I'll just say this for me. If I walk into an open house and Adam Ravithis is hosting the open house, I'm going to walk in with my client or without. I'm going to walk up. I'm going to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Chris Cook with Real Broker. I may hand him my card. I may not if I'm not having the card. But I'm professional, by doing that. And I think what I'm seeing out there, and these two other agents had a rough weekend with it as well, is agents are coming in. They're kind of blending in as a buyer, if you will, not really. And then even making negative comments and feedbacks on the house. It's just been not professional. So let's just do better.
Yeah. So I'd love to just elaborate a little bit. So I can see maybe kind of blending in. And I don't know if that's maybe just uneducated. They've probably never been trained on how to attend an open house as an agent. Maybe they've only attended as a buyer and they're just kind of going through that same mentality. But I would agree with you. I think that is not how you should attend an open house. You should kind of disclose who you are and potentially who you're representing if you're with your client, or if you're representing a client that doesn't happen to be there. And this is an interesting one because I don't I don't know how much we've ever talked about this, so I really appreciate you bringing this up. And I don't even know, and I don't know if Lauren is on. Lauren,
I'm here.
do we train at all on how an agent
Yes.
should attend an open house?
I don't know that this is something that specifically we've spoken to, but I think I focus so much on just being a professional and having conversations a certain way when you're acting with other professionals in your field, that you are not the client, you are not the clientele in that situation. But I do like this idea because I don't think it is one that I've ever specifically spoke on.
Yeah, I think we train
So a
so much
big
on how to
thing,
host an open house, but not how to be a guest, right?
like a big thing too, was that at this other open house, not mine, because I would have shut it down immediately. But the agent said, I'm Mickey Mouse from, Pluto Real Estate. And then started picking stuff apart that they weren't even really educated to pick apart, but almost like they were trying to prove their self and their worth with their buyer, which I don't know if in that case they just got the PIA next to their name, which means pain in the ass. So you're not going to do your buyer justice by going in and trying to, I don't know. It's agents trying to not stay in their lane and doing it not professional. I could see asking a question like, do you know the reason? Like I had this question. Do you know the reason that this woman has her refrigerator on, like she kind of has it tilted a little? And I do know the reason because the door never closes properly for her. So if she puts it on that, it closes. You know what I mean? The floor is totally even. I could show them with a leveler. It was not the floor at all. It was the woman's preference. A question like that is a good question. That's a question. But do you know what I'm saying, Steve?
Yeah, yeah. On the negative comments too, it's interesting because obviously that's not appropriate, right? If you've got some feedback, and I don't know the exact details of every little negative comment that was made, or and I'm sure I don't even know that but you got feedback. If there's some issue with the property, just have a conversation on the side or after the open house. Hey, you know what? I was showing the property. I was at the open house today. I just happen to notice X, Y, and Z. Maybe you're aware of it, maybe you're not. I just thought I'd bring it to your attention. That's all. Just be professional, right? And if you guys are at a showing, I can't remember. Somebody said something recently to me about something that happened at a private showing that they had then turned around, and maybe some people have examples, and called the agent afterwards and just said, hey, X, Y, or Z about your property. And the agent didn't know. They weren't aware. So I don't know if that's bringing anything to anybody's mind, if you've been in that scenario recently, or even not recently, but just something particular that you remember that was just that the agent appreciated when you call them and kind of give them a heads up about something that was going on at the property. Anybody have anything?
This just happened to me last week. Um, we had actually noticed in the backyard of a property there was a headstone in the yard. And so I had asked the list agent about it, and she's like, what are you talking about? And I had sent her a picture because I had taken it. And she was like, I have no idea. I hadn't seen that there. She's like, now I gotta go look it up to see if there happens to be anything below it. She's like, and honestly, she's like, there's been 25 agents there, and you are the only one who saw or said anything about this. She's like, was it like tucked somewhere? I was like, it is in the middle of the yard, right in front of the shed. I was like, it was not hidden anywhere. So yeah, but she was like, oh, so me and her went back and forth. My client wasn't even interested on the property, but we had like so much back and forth just based on that one thing that I had noticed and brought to her attention. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah, Linda.
Well, there's been several examples where Jeff and I, in one instance, we went in to show a home, and the back slider. It wasn't that it was not locked; it was wide open. So we immediately got on the phone to the list agent to say, hey, just so you're aware of this, we've just come in with our clients and this is the scenario. Or we went into another home and there was water in the basement. Hey, the listing agent needs to know this. They're not coming over every single day to check on this property, and they need to be aware of this so they can take action. And you know what? We are supposed to be realtors. We have sworn that we are going to abide by our code of ethics. And within our code of ethics, it does talk about how we are supposed to engage with and treat our fellow realtors and professionals. And, there's something called courtesy and decency and, to just turn away from situations like that and say, oh, not my problem. That's so not okay. Right? So, again, to everybody else's point, be a professional, but we're supposed to be held to a higher standard. And so many realtors seem to treat other realtors with disdain. They're the enemy. They're whatever, they're threatened by them. That is not the way we should be thinking of it or behaving. We should be helping each other out by sharing this kind of information when we're aware of it, treating each other decently when we're on either side of the transaction. Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to be encouraging our profession to be more professional. And the only way you can do that is by treating people decently and thoughtfully and proactively, all of these things. And that's what it's about in all types of scenarios. So I
Yeah.
don't understand, the mindset of, we're enemies and all of this other stuff. It does not make any sense to me. It's not in the best interest of our clients to be behaving in that way. And it's just never good practice to treat others disrespectfully.
Yeah, and
Period.
I would extend, like, just even in general. I just feel like the world needs more love right now, for sure.
Yes.
We just that's where we're at. I don't know what is going on out there. Well, I do know what's going on. I think there's just so much distraction, not enough time spent on ourselves with our loved ones. We're in this race, and hopefully we're trying to slow down, show some more love, and 100% within the profession. Please, no matter how small of a little detail, if you think, hey, would I like to know that if this was my listing, right? I think, like, sometimes if the sign is down, right, or one of the things is hanging a little crooked on the sign, right? How sometimes one of the latches will come off. Let's see if you can fix it yourself, right? Put the sign back up yourself. If you can't, call the agent. Hey, wasn't sure if you were aware, your sign's down over here. Like, those are the little things that can just go a long way.
And sometimes I'll be searching for properties for a client, and I'll find that the listing agent has accidentally entered that property into the wrong category. It's an attached property. You've got it as a single family home. Get on the phone, call that person, say, oh, this is an oversight. You're going to want to, fix that right away, because otherwise people who are searching for the property, they're not going to find your property. I mean, just little things like that. Just be kind and decent to each other. And as to your point, treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, that's a great one. There's so many opportunities for a missed entry into the MLS. So that's a great one. Every field potentially could be input wrong. So if you happen to notice something, say something for sure. Anything coming to mind for anybody else of, hey, here's some things specific things that I've kind of helped an agent out with? Coming to mind. All right. Anybody else have something, good win from the weekend? Maybe put a deal together, interesting negotiations, anything like that? All right. Let me kick over to my other topic. So another thing coming out of the NAR meetings was a change to the hate speech policy. So they have NAR has officially approved changes to its hate speech that basically says right now, there is some language in the code of ethics that talks about hate speech, that it can't be done personally or professionally. And they are revising this to say that the code of ethics will only handle professional scenarios. Right, so an agent can't be held accountable through our code of ethics for anything they are doing or posting. And I'm sure this stemmed from some social media posts or something personally. So I don't know if anybody's kind of read up on this, but basically they are saying that anything that's going on in somebody's private life, even if they're a realtor. They have, and this is a freedom of speech type of thing, I guess. Anybody have any kind of strong feelings here, or I don't know if this is a touchy subject for people?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And that's moving in a wrong direction. I think so much is moving in a wrong direction right now. And I don't think this is, it seems very cowardly to me. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like I don't really, I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to speak on where the free speech stuff kind of stops and starts, and but this seems touchy for sure.
Well, and there's such a thing as common sense. And so professionally, maybe you don't comment on something, but as a realtor, if you get on social and really start going to town about a particular way that you're feeling politically and what's going on in the country, do you think that isn't going to spill over and it isn't going to alienate potential clients? It sure as heck will. So
yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it, right? Like, it's just in general, like if you're putting stuff out there on social that could alienate you from potential clients, you got to be careful with that stuff for sure. There is something to be said about kind of finding your tribe and talking about stuff that you are really personally invested in, and trying to connect with consumers based on something that you do. Right? Hey, I not only am a realtor, but I am, into race cars. And that could then potentially, attract other people that are into race cars to utilize you for their services. So there are times where I think it can be to your benefit to go down a rabbit hole or to show some things that personally interest you. But hate speech just seems, in general, not a good idea. So this was an interesting stance for them to take. So I don't know if anybody else read anything or saw anything and would like to comment.
Define hate speech, Steve. I mean, like, I agree with Linda 150%. It goes back to being professional. If you have a strong opinion about something,
Yeah.
keep it in your inner circle, not on social media. I tell my kids this all the time. Like, you're a reflection of me. Get some clothes on. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to. So I'm just pulling it up here. Article 10 of the NAR Code of Ethics prohibits realtors from discriminating based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. So under Standards of Practice 10.5, hate speech includes use of harassing speech, hate speech, epithets, or slurs based on the protected characteristics listed above. So here's what's kind of changing then would be the new policy narrows enforcement, right? So this is, you could get in trouble from NAR to only cover hate speech that occurs in the context of real estate practices, such as interactions with clients, activities tied to a listing or a contract or something like that. So previously, the policy would have extended to all public and private speech, including personal social media, etc. So.
Okay, I understand. So you
Yeah.
can just be mean now. Go ahead and be mean. Let's just be rude.
I mean, how could you go on social media and rant, for example, that you're 100% against the activities of purple people, right? And then walk into a listing appointment and tell the seller, oh, you cannot discriminate based on any of this. And in the meantime, you're just screaming from the rooftops how much you don't like the activities or these people. It's just bad. I think it's a bad plan. It's a very bad plan.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, caused them to take this stance. But I would agree here. This is an interesting stance for them to come out of these mid-years and change this.
Work hard, be kind.
Yeah.
Work hard, be kind.
Amen.
My only kind of defense is, I don't know. Again, I don't know what the free speech protections potentially are. That, was there some sort of a lawsuit behind the scenes that we're unaware of? I don't know. But man, it seems like if this is how we want to act professionally, wouldn't we want to act the same way in our personal lives? But anybody else with thoughts?
Karma's real, and however somebody wants to act, right, is going to play into the outcomes and experiences they have in their life. And if you need rules written on paper to tell you how to be a good person, then you're probably not that good of a person anyways.
Tend to agree with you, Lauren.
This is just very, very strange change in the law, which just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Moving in the wrong direction.
I'm not sure, I'm assuming they are going to get some serious pushback here. So, hey, my job is just to deliver the news here. I'm just telling you what I'm reading. I think.
And I appreciate that. That's why I don't read any of it myself.
Yeah. There's a couple of more things coming out of mid-years, but we are out of time for today. I'll try to make sure I keep them on the agenda for tomorrow. So hope you guys have an awesome Monday. Appreciate the banter back and forth today as always. And I look forward to doing it again with all of you again tomorrow morning. All right. Take care.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.